Welcome to Is It Covered, where we break down real stories and answer the big question, is it covered? Hosted by father and son duo Bruce and Brian Chapman of the J.D. Chapman Insurance Agency. This podcast will help you navigate the world of insurance with stories, tips, and answers that really matter. From personal to commercial coverage, we've got you covered. Now, let's get started.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Is It Covered, the podcast sponsored by J.D. Chapman. Today, we have a special guest, Josh Patterson, with us. I'll give him a chance to introduce himself and everything later. But before we get started, just like we say on every episode, if you do experience a claim or you do have a claim, please always talk with your agent or the company itself, because every claim is different. As we're going to find out today, every claim is adjusted differently. So before we get started, Josh, I kind of want to turn it over to you. I know that we've had some communication being an adjuster that with Cincinnati Insurance, but I wanted people to just kind of get an idea of who you are, what your background is, you know, how you kind of got into this side of the business, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, my name's Josh Patterson. I work for Cincinnati Insurance. I'm an all lines adjuster. Coming up on 3 years now. Background, graduated high school from Ontario, or Wayne, over in Ontario, and then college, Binghamton, bachelor's degree in economics, really nothing to do with my
Nobody in insurance. Yeah, exactly.
I always say that. It's like, oh, how'd you get into insurance? I'm like, it wasn't what I majored in.
Right.
No one chooses insurance.
I know it's funny because after graduated Binghamton, I kind of ventured out. I coached down at George Mason for a season.
Would you coach?
At George wrestling.
Oh, nice.
Cool. All right.
Down at George Mason for a year. And then I didn't know anyone right out of college. So I didn't know anyone. Like I said, it was tough being 21 or 22 at that time. I'm a family person.
Yeah,
so, I moved back home, and then wasn't really sure what I was gonna do. My uncle was an independent adjuster. My older brother was an independent adjuster. So for a storm, I would kind of tag along, be an assistant sort of person, help out, get on roofs, do some inspections just for property. But learned how to do that for about a year or two, and then ended up getting my own license to be an adjuster. And I started out that way as an independent for 12 years, I want to say.
When you say independent, that means just like you work for a company that's not one of the insurance companies?
Yeah, so I work for it. I had worked for a bunch of different adjusting companies who it'd be like a third party contract with the insurance company. I mean, we still use independents as well in my position,
right,
if the claim's too far away or something along those lines. So I did that, like I said, for 10 years. And then my brother, not my older, all three of us are adjusters, which is odd. And my middle brother, he worked for Cincinnati prior to me. And then there was an opening. It was his position actually opened up. He got promoted. And then everything he had told me about the company and the job description and everything, it was just something I was done trying to chase work and traveling with young kids. So
yeah,
it just all worked out.
So
nice.
Yeah, for sure. So when someone has a claim, they call us, right?
Yep.
And then we report it to the company. And then what does an adjuster do? People might be wondering.
Yeah,
about
well, obviously, we'll look at the details of whatever was reported. Obviously, it's usually not very much. It's pretty minimal. We'll check the data loss, make sure the policy's in force, whatnot. Usually, then we'll reach out to the insured, get the details of the loss, and then jump into an investigation, whether it's go out and inspect the damages or get in touch with claimants, interviews, recorded statements, leases, contracts, whatever. Obviously, with auto, you're going to do inspections of the vehicles, property. You're going to sometimes do an investigation of exactly what happened. You might need to get a cause and loss origin expert and things like that. But every claim, like I said, whether it's general liability, a slip and fall, you have to go inspect wherever the injury happened. You want to do a recorded statement with claimants to get, like I said, their story versus our insured story. Just kind of trying to iron out all the facts of what actually happened.
So it's a lot of like investigative work. It sounds like.
Yeah. A lot of it. I mean, if auto accidents are usually pretty, you get rear-ended. The person who's in the back of you usually is at fault, unless obviously there's other details that could come into effect where it's not the case. But in, like I said, property is usually pretty cut and dry. I mean, you got missing shingles on your roof. You got wind.
Right, yeah.
So you're the face of the claim then? You're the face of the company?
We'll handle it. Like I said, we'll be the point of contact from start to finish.
Right.
Unless, obviously, things come up, which obviously they sometimes tend to do.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, yeah. I know we've seen claims that, you think are kind of a cut and dry claim, and then you start getting into some things as to
spiraling.
Yeah, as to how it happened, or, was this water leak something that had happened over the last year? I mean, obviously those are things that you're looking for.
Yeah, has it happened prior? Like, it's kind of an ongoing thing, and like it's all dependent on exactly what happened.
Right. Yeah. From your perspective, like, what's the biggest misconception that policyholders have when it comes to claims? Is there one thing that you hear pretty regularly?
Generally, it's if people have a bad conception or a bad perspective of insurance, is they're looking to deny our claim,
right?
Which is not true. We actually read the policy to see if we can afford some coverage somewhere in the policy.
Right. You're looking for coverage.
Yeah, because policies are a pain.
Sure.
There's a lot of legalese there.
Yeah,
sure.
Right. Double speak.
Yeah, it's you'll get a portion of the policy that takes coverage away, but then you read on 5 pages later, it gives it back to you for an extension of coverage. So you really have to, like I said, we do look anywhere we can to extend some sort of coverage if it is a claim in question.
That's good to hear, because I think that is a misconception, like you said, and I think most people think, oh, well, they're going to look for a way to deny this claim, and that's a common misconception.
Yeah,
for sure.
And like I said, that's complete opposite of what we try to do.
Right.
Yeah, that's in my experience. That's not just Cincinnati and you. It's all adjusters want to find coverage.
Absolutely. When you got your adjuster's license, was a part of that? I mean, was it like a license? Was it a course that you had to take and pass an exam?
So I originally just got my fire adjuster's license, which is just property basically, and then as I moved to Cincinnati, I wasn't just doing property, so I had to get an all lines adjuster license, which there are courses you can take. I did the kind of study on my own, take some practice exams, and then did that just from, like I said, just looking.
He's a Binghamton grad. He's pretty smart.
Oh, yeah. Is a part of that class like they teach you about the policies and things like that, or is it more like what to look for? Just curious. Like,
it's odd because it'll ask you the strangest stuff. Like it'll include crop insurance, which we don't.
No,
I mean, it's all part of the adjuster's license, but like I said, I don't think I've ever dealt with some of the claims.
We don't sell crop insurance.
Right, yeah, exactly.
It's very specialized. Yeah.
I don't know if we handle any of that, but like I said, but a lot of it is policy questions and stuff like that. But I mean, every insurance company has different tweaks and exclusions, and
so you have to get real familiar with whatever company you're working for and the way their policies are written,
and different exclusions and amendments and things like that.
Right.
I always heard with liability policies, the thicker the policy, the more their exclusions are on there.
Ours is pretty standard.
The thin ones, the thin ones have the most coverage.
They have less exclusions. It's less paper to roll up.
So kind of going back to what Bruce was saying earlier, we'll have an insured call us to say that, we've got a claim, and then we submit it to the company.
Yep.
And we always tell folks to keep documentation, do whatever they need to do to kind of mitigate any losses. Are those what you would recommend folks do when they do have, let's say, a property claim at their home or something?
Yeah. The main thing is obviously prevent further damage.
Right.
And a lot of times they'll be like, oh, my agent told me not to touch anything. I'm like, well, if it's going to create more damage, try preventing that. Like tarp the roof, remove the tree, get that covered up, turn the water off if need be, disconnect the fridge if it's a supply line or anything like that. It's that's the one thing. Like, oh, my agent told me not to touch anything. Like, well, you can touch stuff, take photos, document everything before you do anything drastic. Obviously, just document stuff.
Right,
for sure.
You don't want to fully mitigate the loss and start rebuilding things and stuff.
Yep.
You kind of just want to mitigate any further issues.
Yep, stop anything further from happening, any further damages. And like I said, if you have photos, perfect. Like that'll pretty much the same thing I'll do is I'll take photos. So if you take photos before you do anything, obviously that's very helpful.
Right.
Do you run into like people that have documented their house and their contents and stuff? So they had a fire claim, and would that be helpful to you if you could see that?
It would be very helpful, but like I said, you're not going to get a lot of people that expect a fire back. Oh, let me do this itemization of all the stuff I have in the house in lieu of getting your house burned down. Which,
yeah.
So I've got
but it would help a lot. I mean, even just kind of taking a general overview of each room of your house,
just like a video.
Just kind of go through like, oh, this is my bedroom, and just a snapshot of this. There's the dressers I have. Obviously, clothing is a different story.
Sure, yeah.
I've always told people that, you could take that video in your closet and your clothes might change because it might be 10 years old, but the volume of clothes would be about the same.
Yeah, usually, yeah.
And I always had a question. So, like, you have a kitchen fire, right? Mm-hmm. They're pretty common. And you have that junk drawer or the drawer with all the plastic utensils and it's just a glob of plastic. How do you adjust that? Do you say, it's worth about this? Or
I mean, usually with that stuff, that's pretty minuscule stuff. I mean, usually it's some pens, keys,
right? Yeah,
paper clips and stuff like that. So,
but I mean, like cooking utensils and stuff that have.
So usually, obviously, if there's nothing left to inspect and document, we have to get with the insured and kind of go over, hey, what was in the kitchen, what was in this thing, just to kind of try to jog their memory to remember exactly what was there.
Yeah.
Because I know if my house, God forbid, that happened, like I said, I would be in the same position as I see some of our insureds.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I don't know what was in there. Let me try to think. It's hard.
Oh, I'm sure. and you just dealt with a major loss.
I was just going to say that you're
freaked out.
You're stressed already, and now I'm putting more work on you. Yeah, can you itemize everything in your house that got damaged?
Right.
So it's usually if it's stuff where we can still take photos, we'll do that obviously. But there are some times where it's a total not full house, but rooms and stuff. You're like, you got to go back with the insured. Like, well, what was here? What was there? What was in there? And
so, do you guys also then work with like restoration type companies? Well, because I know a lot of restoration companies will document their contents and so on. Does that
or public adjusters?
Or public, like, do you guys work hand in hand with them at some point?
Yeah, well, so we use a third party, usually a content specialist that'll come and document everything and price everything out, but I have a claim going on right now where the mitigation company is working with the insured hand in hand, where they're going through each room that was a total, and they're like, well, what was here? And they're kind of trying to create a list off of memory with the insured there.
Sure.
Is that the norm, or is that unusual that the mitigation company would do that?
They usually offer it.
Mm-hmm.
It all depends on if the insured wants to take that onto themselves, if they want to make the list themselves.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
With regard to claims, too, we always tell people, you know what, it's so much easier to try to avoid a claim than to have one, because it is such a pain in the butt.
Spend your deductible money on
for sure.
Cleaning
Safety
your house
upgrades.
Yeah, and it's funny because we actually, one of our policies, our capstone policy for property, if you do have like a water thing or a lightning strike, there's a provision in our policy where they get $5,000, I think it's $5,000, to do an emergency water shut off where it would go right to their phone, so they can prevent it's a loss prevention device.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Obviously to help them and help us in the long run. Really.
Yeah.
I think that's unusual to Cincinnati. Not every company.
No,
would do that.
but like I said, that's something like those are some of the things that we offer at Cincinnati, which I'm like, that's something that it's very nice to have.
Absolutely.
And like I said, there's other endorsements and stuff like that where
for sure.
I know you can get credits on certain things if you have a alarm system or if you've got water detection
device,
exactly. Yep. And again, that's just all to help further kind of mitigate
that's all
things.
part like the underwriting and stuff. I don't deal with that portion of it. I know that'll lower premiums, which everyone's wants, because it just seems like they keep going up regardless if you make a claim.
Exactly. So what are some, like, as you're kind of out adjusting claims, what are some of the most common reasons you see claims either getting delayed or denied? Is it a couple different reasons that would happen, or
delayed? It's communication. That would be my main thing. Whether it be, hey, we're looking for photos, we're looking for an agreement of some sort, previous work that's been done to a car or something. It's a lot of it's communication, or if documents are requested, it's a delay here, a delay there, and that if we don't request all the documents up front, if there's something that comes up later in the claim that we need, and then we ask again, and it's communication. If communication's continuously ongoing, it makes the claim go so much smoother.
Sure, absolutely.
And I'm assuming that's probably in the same position as you guys as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Communication's huge. Absolutely. Everything from underwriting, when you first speak to us as an agent, disclosing things like pools and stuff that you have and animals, and that stuff's very helpful. Yeah. I think sometimes people think like, well, if I don't tell them about this or if I don't tell them about that, my premium would be lower, but it only causes issues down the line.
100%.
And hopefully they're not seeing you at their property and you're like, hey, by the way, we've got to deny something or whatever.
Yeah,
the case is.
I wouldn't deny it just because of that. But like I said, underwriting might have an issue,
right?
Where they're like, well, we wrote your policy for this, but you have this, this A, B, and C on your a pool with no fence, like that sort of stuff. Which obviously would create problems down the line.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
With regard to claims and delays and stuff, obviously we've had a lot of hailstorms and stuff lately, so roofs are damaged. And that's one of the more common things that we get is, well, they're only replacing one surface.
Yeah.
You must get that a lot, right? The damaged surface is...
Yeah, I mean...
I want my whole roof replaced.
and it goes state by state because New York's not a matching state.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do not like that. We don't make the laws for New York insurance regulation, so we will write the estimate per New York State regulations and laws. So, we have a line of sight where if you can see one slope that goes into another, like a hip roof or something like that, then you'll usually, like I said, you see more than one slope, and then it starts getting into pretty much the whole roof will have to be replaced. But,
right.
Like I said, a straight gable, like if you can only see the front, it's unfortunately, obviously I know if it was my house, I'd want the whole roof replaced as well, but that's not what insurance is for.
Nope.
To make your house, and that's a common misconception as well. It's, well, I have insurance. Why isn't my whole roof being replaced?
Right.
Well, if it's not damaged.
Insurance is only supposed to make you whole as to what you had and repair the damage. So how do you end up handling situations where maybe there's a insured that's not so happy with the company, or obviously I would imagine you've ran into these situations, but what's
everyone's happy with Cincinnati.
You look at. You have to send either a portion of their policy that says that, or, like I said, the New York State insurance regulations of what New York State insurance is required to do.
Does it feel like it's a lot of education, too, for these folks? Because obviously they're not insurance professionals, so it's kind of...
Yeah, it might be their first time going through, and they're like, well, I had a roof that was continuous. It looked like this beforehand. I want it to look like it be afterwards.
Right,
after I sustain the loss, but like I said, unfortunately, it doesn't always go that way.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of roofing companies out there, too, that are like, we're going to promise that we're going to get your whole roof fixed.
Yeah.
So there must be some locking of horns on some of those.
Especially it's more recent with the hail stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of companies that will call... storm chasing contractors, and then they'll go door to door and knock on and be like, hey, if you pay me your deductible now, we'll get your roof placed, we'll get your siding if it's damaged, obviously, we'll get this all that, and then they overpromise, and if it's not a part of their policy or damage, they're going to underdeliver, and that's when, if contractors are promising something and their insurance companies aren't following through,
there could be a big disconnect there.
Yes.
We saw a lot of that during those hail claims.
Yeah. So are those, and that's a good question, because it seems like recently, within the last couple of years, we've had hail claims that we typically don't see.
Yeah, we don't see. Like I said, I was a property adjuster for, like I said, for 12 years, and before these past few, a lot of it was like Farmington area.
Right. Yeah.
I don't remember ever having real damaging hail.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Obviously, we get some of the small stuff, but.
So are those considered like catastrophic events? Are those adjusted any differently? Is it just the same as a...
It's the same. We'll handle the same. Obviously, if we need to bring outside adjusters just for the volume of claims, we will, but it's still the same process.
That's a good question, though, Brian. So, we've had a couple of catastrophes, which in our industry, as you know, we call them cat losses. Mm-hmm. Are those handled differently than an individual? So, how does that work?
So we have we don't have a cat team specifically. I think we just actually got a handful of adjusters for specific cats, but some of the bigger stuff we do have to relocate some adjusters from where their home territories are. We have sign-ups every year to be on the cat team for specific weeks of the year. And then we have obviously the cat team that's out in the field doing the inspections and estimates and stuff. And then we'll have a concierge adjusters that will be the main point of contact, but if they have any questions or anything, but the adjuster out doing the inspections, they'll do all the estimates and stuff. So it just takes a little bit longer. Like I said, getting the adjusters there where they can inspect. Usually they're going through a lot and they want to get their houses seen, but a lot of them, they're very understanding. Like, well, we understand everyone's going through a lot. And so usually pretty much everyone's understanding. It just takes a little bit longer to get everything
Is everyone's
needed.
freezer full of lobster and filet mignon?
Usually. Yeah. They had just gone grocery shopping prior.
Right.
How does the use of technology play into that, though? Have you guys, things like with drones and AI and estimating software, is that kind of help speed the claims process up? Is that something you guys use?
We use AI in a few parts of our claims right now that we use for auto. We do a preliminary kind of an AI estimate, and then we'll obviously have someone review the estimates to make sure it's correct.
Right.
But we do use that for preliminary just to get the estimate started for autos. We can do that for property too. There's a program that we can use where you upload photos, it'll get the dimensions of the room, and then it'll start an estimate.
Oh,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I don't like it because I was doing it for 12 years prior where I know exactly what I need in the estimate. So I'm like, it might be quicker if I just
go out and do it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So in doing this for, a decade or better, how have you seen things change with like people having solar panels and electric cars and, these things that have kind of emerged that maybe weren't so popular back a while ago?
Yeah, electric cars are tough. In part because there's so few body shops that are approved by the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Like you need to be Tesla certified or Rivian certified. And Rochester doesn't have an abundance of that.
There's only a few.
Yeah, there's probably 2 or 3 Teslas and like it's probably the same, maybe even less for Rivians. That makes it a little bit more difficult for that. Solar panels, it's usually we'll talk to the contractor, be like, hey, are they damaged? If it is, they'll usually put something together just saying, hey, this is what was damaged on that. Or if we just need a bid item to remove and replace or remove and reset them if they weren't damaged,
right?
But you still have them on the roof, and if the roof damaged, then you still got to take them off.
And this might be more of a technical question for us, but I'm always curious. Solar panels are typically bolted or screwed into the roof,
bolted onto the
yeah. So is that considered part of your dwelling?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah.
Even I knew that.
If it's attached.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured.
The rule of thumb that I always tell people is to determine what's contents and what's not is if a giant picked your house up and shook it upside down. Everything that falls out is content.
Yeah, pretty much.
Do you typically find that the majority of stuff that you go out on and adjust are, covered claims, or is it kind of a 50-50? Or
usually it's a majority of it's I mean, very few do I go out and inspect big, oh, actually this isn't covered. Usually once you get some of the claim details, you kind of are looking at, oh, this might be in question, this might be in question, sort of thing, where let me just inspect to see the exact determination of what happened here. But you kind of have a general idea in the back of your head of what might not be covered, and then you kind of use that to confirm or be like, oh, pleasantly surprised, no, this actually is covered.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I got a question kind of pivoting to like an auto claim. So you hear about, do you get involved in determining fault on those?
Yep.
So you hear these stories about big named insurance companies where I'm parked at a red light, someone hits me from behind, and the person who hit me from behind, their company says I'm 10% at fault. Do you get involved in percentages of fault and things like that?
I'm actually dealing one right now where the other carrier is trying to put 20% on us.
Right.
Where we had the right of way, no stop signs or anything. Their insured came to a stop sign, was pulling out to merge onto traffic, and they ran into us. So they're like, well, he had the last chance to stop. That's one of the liability determinations, like the last chance. But if you're pulling out in front, it's and a lot of the times once you're disputing liability percentage, it'll go to an arbitration, an arbiter, like a third party independent that doesn't have any stake in the claim.
Yeah.
It's usually just another adjuster who signs up to be an arbiter, and they'll, like I said, they'll look at the facts of the loss and usually determine it that way.
Do things go to arbitration often?
Quite a bit in auto.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's behind the scenes, and as the insured, you never know about it.
Yeah, the insured, we'll usually let them know, big, hey, we're having a damage dispute, which is we handled it first party for our insured. We paid for other repairs. They're arguing something on the back end, whether it's, oh, this didn't need to be done. They used too much rental. They used this, and that. And the pain in that is they have to pay the deductible up front. So they're out $500, $1,000 for that. And it's not a small amount of money.
No.
Right, yeah.
You have to put out $1,000 when nothing was your fault.
Exactly.
And then the arbitration, sometimes it's not, the appointment's not till 6 months down the line.
Yeah.
Just with depending on how many cases are heard and whatnot, and the schedule and stuff like that. But so it's hard for me to be like, oh, sorry, that $1,000 that you paid out of pocket. I do tell you up front, like if you want to go through your first party insurance, you will have to put up the deductible up front.
Right.
We'll get it on the back end once we send the demand package to them. But if they dispute that in any way between liability or damage differences, it will go to an arbitration hearing, like I said, which might be 6 months, 8 months down the road.
Okay.
But yeah,
is that why it's important? I know a lot of the times we ask people like, hey, do you have a police report? Do you have some type of report from a third party? I mean, I'm sure that's super helpful.
Yes, with police reports, even little fender benders.
Yeah.
Like I said, if you don't get their information, you don't get a police report, and they argue it down the line, the other driver, then it's a word versus word accident, which obviously we can look at the damage and see what's damaged. Like if your back end, it's not like you, some cases you do rear end or put it in reverse and hit somebody.
Right.
But like I said, police report takes the questioning out of that.
Right. Yeah. Even if it's somebody like, it's real common in the, when you're going to shop for food and stuff, people back into each other
and things like that.
Lots,
I've done that.
And then it's like, oh, well, I'll just handle this or I'll do whatever. But it probably is worth the time to at least call and make a police report, even if it's cut and dry.
Even if it's, like I said, if you don't think there's going to be any dispute and liability, the other driver can say one thing while they're at the scene and then get back to their house big. And then I call them, hey, can I get a recorded statement from you? No, your driver hit me. That's not what I was told. So that's part of the investigation process too, is like I said, it's not always, we got into an accident. The other driver hit me. He told me he's sorry. at the scene. I call him. No, I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you guys, with every you hear that there's so many security cameras, there's so much stuff around. Is that like something you guys will go back and look at? Is that
we do request them? We do request them from whether it be a parking lot or if our insured owns the property. But that's another thing with delayed reporting. If it's not reported till a month later, right, they're not going to have that surveillance video available.
What about dash cams? Are you running into?
We do have companies that have dash cams installed in all of their vehicles, which, like I said, it helps a lot. There was a claim. It was a pretty bad accident on the thruway. Our insured was on the side of the road, and we had the dash cam video of him kind of losing control, spinning out into the outside shoulder of the road, and then a few minutes later, there was a big accident with a fatality, and I get a letter of representation from one of the other drivers involved, be like, hey, your name was on the police report. We weren't involved at all, and I'll send you the video.
Right.
Like, our vehicle was on the complete opposite side of the road, but because it happened pretty close by, they were still named in the police report. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, and like I said, with attorney letters, they're obviously going to look at the police report. They're going to send out letters to anyone who's named on that police report.
Of course.
But if I have video proof showing my vehicle wasn't involved at all, right, you can't really do much on that for the attorney. You
mention attorneys, and we're bombarded by advertisements that say, are you getting all you should get? And I got $10 million. And I mean, how realistically, those people aren't getting $10 million, are they?
If it's warranted.
Yeah.
I mean, if the injuries back it up. Yeah. I mean,
okay.
but a lot of times it's people will get a false idea in their head, be like, oh, I got an offender bender, my back's a little sore, let me bring an attorney involved.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
New York has a serious threshold where it needs to qualify. I guess there's certain qualifiers that make it a serious injury in New York, so it has to go through that, and attorneys know that. And
right, yeah, of course.
They're going to be like, well, you need to go here, you need to go get this done.
Right.
And like I said, for any injuries, like I said, if they're going to do a BI claim for auto or general liability, it's the same process for us, whether they have an attorney or not.
BI meaning bodily
injury. Yep. So obviously that's in auto or general liability,
right, yeah.
Slip and fall or anything. Mm-hmm. It's the same process for us, whether they have an attorney or not. We'll look at the injuries, the treatment, try putting a number on it. Obviously, it's hard to put a number on an injury, which the one thing I don't like is trying to put a number on an injury for somebody.
Exactly.
Like, your injury's worth this. I don't like doing that.
Right, yeah.
It's part of the job, but...
Well, that's tough because there's so much that goes into that, right? Yeah. And you're kind of putting a dollar value on somebody's health.
Which I don't like doing.
Right,
but it has to be done.
Sure, absolutely.
So does, say, Cincinnati have a group of attorneys where there's a dispute, you kind of turn it over to them and then they handle it from there?
So usually with bodily injury claims, if they don't have an attorney up front, like I said, we'll make the offer directly to the claimant. Mm-hmm. If they do have an attorney, we'll go through the claimant. We'll try coming to an agreement for settlement. If it's not, if our numbers are too far off or something along those lines, they'll usually file suit. And then we'll assign it to defense counsel, and I'm off the claim at that point.
Right, yeah, it's up to them to kind of figure that whole thing out, yeah. So I'm always curious, have you seen anything like kind of that you scratch your head, so how did that happen? Or any type of like a different or wild or wacky type claim that you're kind of like, oh, that's an oddball? And I'm always curious because obviously you see quite a few things. It sounds like a lot of it's cut and dry, but I didn't know if there was maybe one scenario that comes to mind that you're like, that's kind of an odd one.
I mean, there's always similar claims.
Sure.
Like slipping with Western New York winters, we're going to get a lot of snow and ice on parking lots and a lot of slip and falls that way.
Yeah.
But, sometimes we're brought into claims if we have any part in the claim, and it's like, well, we didn't really do involve any of our insured work. Like a lot of construction losses, they'll have contracts with subcontractors to be like, oh, you are hold harmless and indemnify the GC. Well, if our contractor didn't do any work, like if our insured only painted and you got a wall falling down,
right?
Well, we're not going to indemnify you if that's
right. Yeah, exactly.
But like I said, it's little details of claims. It's usually nothing too crazy,
right? Yeah,
different wise, but yeah, there are some. Nothing really comes to mind off the top of my head, though.
Yeah. It's always just a curiosity question. I know there was a company we spoke to. I asked that same question, and they had mentioned that they were on a gas station, and a gentleman drove up in the middle of the night and filled his gas tank up, and then decided to douse the whole car in gas and was filling other things, and just kind of, I don't know if it was a mental breakdown. I'm not sure. I don't really know exactly what happened, but yeah, decided to douse himself in gasoline, and then got in the car and drove off. And so now they've got gasoline, all over the place, and clean up and pollution and
there was a video,
all kinds of stuff. Yeah, they saw the security footage of this gentleman doing that. So
I've
weird things
never
happen.
Experienced that.
That's good.
Yeah,
absolutely. So kind of as we start to wrap stuff up, is there, maybe one thing that you wish insurance agents and stuff told their clients either before a loss, or is there any education piece that might help with, clients kind of
help us help you?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Just let the insured know it. Documentation, whether it's take photos before they do anything,
right,
or touch the scene, I guess, if it's a property loss, before they do anything, take photos, or if they're going to tarp the roof, and if they have a contractor, just ask the contractor, hey, can you snap a few pictures?
Right.
So we don't have to have the tarp removed, just create unnecessary work for everyone. Mm-hmm. And then just have stuff available. If something's going to need, if you got something damaged that's specific, if you have the original invoice for something, rather than, I mean, obviously we'll do it.
Right.
But if you have the original invoice of flooring, if it was just installed 6 months ago, or if you just had a bonus room, or if you have any invoices, any documentation, like I said, photos, before they do anything, touch anything,
documentation and communication. It sounds like it's pretty clear.
Yes, yeah. That's the main thing. Like I said, if we're calling, if you can answer your phone, it's the same thing on my end too. I don't like returning voicemails to begin with. So if I answer the phone call, I won't have to do that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It just creates more work for myself, which I would prefer not to have.
Yeah.
But like when I get that call on a claim at 11:30 on a Friday night, it's always, document everything, do anything you need to prevent further damage. If you need to call in a restoration company, get things going.
Yeah. And like I said, document it. If you're getting a mitigation company in there to do some of the dry up, they'll take photos as well.
Right.
And like I said, for fallen trees and things like that, you can have that tree removed. Try taking a couple pictures before it's removed.
Yeah, right.
Because obviously you don't want that tree sitting on your house for the remainder of the weekend where it might rain and you might get more water damage. Yeah. So if you get that tree removed, tarped, it'll prevent a lot of the stuff inside if you can do that at that
and
time.
Even
obviously.
If a claim's not covered with a mitigation company, it's like you're going to have to take care of that anyways. You might as well get them there sooner than later.
That's a big thing too. Like, we're waiting for our insurance company to say it's covered or not. If it's your house, you're going to probably do that anyways, or at least prevent further damage anyways. So the delay in that, if it was my house, like I said, I would start right away, regardless if it's going to be covered or I'm going to file a claim to begin with.
Yep.
I think the other important thing too to let people know is a lot of people renovate their home or add an addition or anything of that nature, and the last thing on their mind is, hey, I should probably let my insurance company know that I just added a square footage, or now my kitchen's $100,000.
Yeah, that would be something more communication to you.
Yes, exactly, so that they don't are dealing with a claim and there's not an appropriate amount of coverage because they just updated the kitchen, but the policy was written before that. So I think that's important for people to know.
You want to make sure your house is insured to value, which is ITV. It's a big thing. Obviously, I don't know if you guys deal with
ITV,
and
insurance to value,
and make your house. You have enough coverage for your house in case something catastrophic happens, where you have a house fire and it burns down. Because I have a claim going on right now where he didn't have enough policy for his house.
Yep.
So we paid out our max policy, but it's not going to be enough because the rebuild estimate was a few $100,000 more than what he's insured for.
Especially in this day and age.
And I've heard on commercial buildings too, I know sometimes folks will look for that lower premium and maybe not insure it to the full value or so on and so forth. And then there is a claim and
then you get docked.
Right, exactly. Or you're like, well, I've got $1 million into this building and I'm only going to get $500,000. Now what do I do? Now I'm out.
Yep.
So, those things are important to communicate.
Sure those coverage limits are there for you if something were to happen down the line.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to be feeling that out of your own pocket.
Yeah. Communication and documentation. I feel like that should be the stamp of this episode.
Right,
that might be like the heading of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Is there any other questions that you have for Josh here today?
Do you have any questions of us? Like, what do we do ahead of time or anything like that?
No, I think we talk. I mean, I talked to you handful, and we have an open line of communication. If you have any questions for a specific claim or something, you usually shoot an email or give me a call. And like I said, I'm always available too. If you do have a quick question, and I take calls from agents where it's not even our company that has claims, but a lot of companies don't have that one specific adjuster.
Absolutely.
Per agency,
yes.
Which is one thing I do think Cincinnati is great with because, like I said, if you have an insurer that has multiple claims, unfortunately has multiple claims.
Right.
Obviously, they don't want multiple claims, but it happens.
Right.
I'll be the same adjuster that their point of contact.
Yeah.
For any of those.
Right. So like maybe if you had your garage burned and you had your car in there, and now you're dealing with a home claim and an auto claim and some other stuff. So you would be the one main point of contact.
For all,
that's
for
excellent.
All those claims.
Yeah.
Yeah, that just makes it less confusing for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have no more questions.
No,
I
me
think
neither.
We've interrogated you enough.
and Josh, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, it was fun.
Absolutely.
I'm glad I
really interesting to kind of lift the veil a little bit and see what goes on after we submit a claim and how it all works. So really thank you for that. That was great. Yeah,
sure.
Anytime.
Thanks again.
So if anybody has any claims that they want us to break down on future episodes or questions in general, we'd love to field those and do an episode on them. You can reach out directly to Brian, Brian, at jdchapmaninc.com, and we'd love to take a look. So until next time, thanks everybody.
Perfect. See you later. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Is It Covered podcast. To learn more about how JD Chapman can assist you with all your insurance needs, please visit our website at jdchapmaninc.com or call us at 315-986-4062. JD Chapman, we've got you covered. This podcast provides general information only and does not offer or bind insurance coverage. Coverage cannot be changed or confirmed through this podcast, email, voicemail, or fax. Insurance only takes effect once confirmed by a licensed agent. For specific coverage details, please call us at 315-986-4062. All coverages are subject to the terms, conditions, and exclusions of the issued policy, which may vary by state. This podcast does not provide legal, tax, or financial advice. Please consult a professional for those needs. Links to other sites are provided for convenience. We don't control or endorse their content. Any claims scenarios discussed are hypothetical. Coverage decisions depend on the specifics of each case.